Aviva Wasserman, Middle School Guidance here at JKHA RKYHS. So anxiety, right? The feeling that I'm feeling right now looking at this huge room of people. So before I talk a little bit about anxiety, I want to paint a picture for you of what anxiety is, right? Everyone talks about anxiety as the fight or flight response, but what does that mean? So let me tell you a little story. About 3 years ago, I was 8.5 months pregnant. At the time I was working in the city. I was walking home from the bus, and I'm walking. I'm like, I feel something behind me. I'm like, what's happening right now? Is someone following me? What's going on? And so I peek behind my shoulder, and I live in Teaneck, New Jersey, but at that time, apparently we had wild turkeys in Teaneck. So I don't know if you've ever met a wild turkey. They're about this high. I don't know if they try to attack you or not. I don't really know. I've never fought a turkey. But in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm 8.5 months pregnant. There's a turkey following me. So what do? I start running, like sprinting down the street. This must have been quite a scene. And in that moment, I was like, oh my goodness, this is fight or flight. Because either I'm fighting this turkey or I am running from this turkey. So I'm going to run. And I ran. And that's fight or flight, right? So kids who are experiencing anxiety, it literally feels like there's a turkey chasing them. So that's the image I want you to picture. So I could talk a lot about how anxiety is this terrible epidemic, and it is. Like, our kids are struggling with anxieties right now that they never were dealing with before. But I'm a very positive person, so I'm going to tell you about an anxiety warrior who I got to help through her anxiety last year and had the privilege of helping through it. So I'll introduce you to Olivia. So Olivia was in 5th grade last year, and when I started at the school, I would see her and her mom walking around the hallways until like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, right? And I said to people, like, what's going on there? Why are they circling the hallways? And everyone was like, Aviva, don't touch that. That's been going on for years, not something you're gonna fix. Like, no. And if you know me, I'm like, no, I'm gonna fix it. So I got to know Olivia and her mom a little bit. Wonderful family, very bright girl who does really well in school, interestingly. And I said to Mom, I'm going to meet you guys at the front door and see if, like, Olivia can hand off from you to me at the front door and see if that helps her, right? So the next morning, I met them at the front door. I'm like, okay, Olivia, here we go. I'm all excited. And Mom is standing by the door, and Olivia's standing with me. She's, like, beet red. She's got tears pouring down her face. Like sweat is pouring down her face. She takes her arms, her nails, and she digs them into me. She's like literally paralyzed by fear. She literally has a turkey chasing her. And Mom is standing back watching this, like, what do I do? Do I step in? What do I do here? And eventually Mom's like, okay, this is not going well. And she steps in and they resume their circling, right? So fast forward a little while later, I put on my social work hat and I said, what is missing here, right? What is the missing thing to solve this puzzle? Olivia needs to be able to help herself, right? The role of social workers are to become useless. We're to give people tools to help themselves. So I said, okay, Mom, here's the plan for tomorrow. You're gonna sit in the car, like not get out of your seat, and Olivia's gonna open the door to the car and walk up the steps to the building all by herself. And Mom looked at me like I was crazy, right? And she's like, okay, let's try it. So the next morning, I stand at the front of the building, I watch their car pull up to the front, and I see Mom like gripping the steering wheel, right? Like her teeth are clenched because she doesn't want to say the wrong thing to like trigger her in that moment. And the car door opens, so I'm like, oh gosh, what's gonna happen? And it opens, and out comes Olivia. And everyone walked up those steps this morning, those like super intimidating big steps. So Olivia walks up the steps, walks towards me, and she has this smile on her face, like she literally just conquered the world. And let me tell you, that smile translated to a dramatic change in her overall well-being, and like how she handled herself as a person, how she felt about herself, and it has really transformed her into a different person. So something that's interesting about anxiety that people don't really like to talk about is what parents' roles are in developing anxieties in kids. And sometimes parents are very, very well-meaning, right? We have the right intentions, and we think by holding our kids' hands and shielding them from anything negative, we're helping them, right? We want to protect them. They're our children. But in this case, Mom was not allowing Olivia to develop the skills in herself to feel confident, like, I can do this, because she was literally holding on to mom's hand for hours at a time. And what needed to happen is she needed to let go, and she needed to empower Olivia to do this on her own. And I want to really empower all of us as teachers, as educators, to be able to empower kids. And I think a lot of them come from homes where their parents really shield them from so much, and they do have a hard time dealing with difficult situations. A lot of kids struggle with test anxiety, right? So just something to think about before a test. This will dramatically help 3 or 4 kids in your classroom, but really will help everyone. It can't hurt. So you hand out a test. Okay, guys, here's what we're going to do. Before we turn it over, I want everyone to close their eyes, take a deep breath, and say to yourself, I've got this. I can do this. And that puts them in the frame of mind to be present and grounded and really turns off their anxiety in a way that allows them to be most successful. So I really hope that we can all think about our role of simple solutions that we can come up with, just thinking outside of the box to help empower kids to be their best selves. Thank you so much for listening.